All right, let's talk about something that, let's be honest, most of us dread, MLA citations. But what if I told you it's not about memorizing a million confusing rules? What if it's actually a superpower that makes your work and your arguments way stronger? Let's get into it.
Oh yeah, that feeling of just staring at a blank works cited page, worrying about every single comma and period, you are definitely not alone. But stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to see that page as a source of strength, not stress.
So before we dive into the nitty-gritty of how to do this, we really need to get a handle on the why. Because citing your sources isn't just about jumping through hoops for your professor, it's about building your own credibility as a thinker.
You know, every time you cite something, you're doing a few really powerful things. You're stepping into this huge, ongoing conversation with other experts. You're giving a nod of respect to the people whose work you're building on. You're proving to your reader that your ideas aren't just coming out of thin air. And of course, you're avoiding plagiarism. It's really all about being an honest and engaged member of an intellectual community.
So here's our game plan. We've covered why this all matters. Next, I'm going to show you the secret weapon that changes everything. Then we'll see it in action, use it to tackle some really tricky modern sources, and finally, we'll pull all the pieces together.
Okay, this right here is the absolute game changer. The folks at the Modern Language Association, or MLA, looked around and saw that information isn't just in books anymore, right? It's on websites, in podcasts, on YouTube, everywhere. So they created something brilliant. One single, flexible system that can handle pretty much anything you throw at it.
This is the key that unlocks the whole thing. I want you to completely forget about memorizing different rules for a book versus a website versus a podcast. It's all gone. Now you just learn one template and you ask the same set of questions no matter what you're citing.
And here they are, the 9 core elements. I want you to think of these as your building blocks, like Lego bricks. For any source you find, you just walk down this list and fill in the pieces you have. And this is the best part. If an element doesn't apply, you just skip it. A book doesn't have a version? No problem, just move on to the next one. It's really that simple. Okay, that's the theory, right? But let's see how this secret weapon actually works in the wild. We're going to take this template and apply it to a few different sources, so you can see just how easy and powerful it is. Let's start with something easy, a good old-fashioned book. We just ask our questions. Who's the author? Mantell, Hillary. What's the title of the source? Wolf Hall. Who published it? Picador. When? 2010. We skip all the other elements that don't fit, and boom. Perfect citation.
Now, let's try a website article. This is where that idea of a container really comes into play. The article itself is our source, but where does it live? It lives inside a larger thing, the website, the Atlantic. So the Atlantic is our container. And for location, we just pop in the URL. See? The same template, the same questions, and it handles it perfectly.
This YouTube example is awesome because it shows how the template can handle sources inside of other sources. The film, Sanctuary, is our main source, but its container is YouTube. So you list the film's details first, like the director. Then you list the container's details, in this case, YouTube, who uploaded it and when. The template just layers the information logically.
Okay, you've mastered the basics. You're ready? Let's level up and take on the final boss. Those super tricky modern sources that trip everybody up, like personal interviews and, yep, generative AI. So you did an interview yourself. How in the world do you cite that? Well, the answer is actually really simple and kind of elegant. The person you interviewed, they're the author. And for the title of the source, you literally just write interview. Then you add yourself as a contributor and pop in the date. The template just works. And here it is, the one everyone's asking about, AI. The big confusion is, who's the author? A robot? MLA's solution is brilliant. They say, stop trying to treat AI like a person. It's not. Instead, use the citation to create a transparent record of what you did to get the information. So here's how you use those building blocks for AI. Your prompt, the actual question you asked, becomes the title of source. The AI tool you used, like ChatGPT, that's your container. Then you just fill in the other details, the version, the company that made it, and the date you got the text. It's just an honest description of your process. Okay, look at that. You've built this amazing, perfect works cited list. That is a massive accomplishment. But we're not quite done. Now we just have to connect that list back to the actual sentences in your paper. That's where in-text citations and formatting come in.
So what are in-text citations? Honestly, just think of them as little signposts. Every time you use an idea from a source, you just drop a tiny reference in parentheses. It's a little flag that tells your reader, hey, if you want to know more about this, go look at the full entry on the Works Cited page.
And here's what it looks like. See how simple that is? It's almost always just the author's last name and the page number. That's it. It's designed to be super clean, so it doesn't interrupt the flow of your writing while still giving the reader exactly the info they need.
Now, what if you have a really long quote? Say, more than 4 lines of text. That's when you use what's called a block quote. You just indent the whole chunk of text half an inch, take away the quotation marks, and put the little citation at the very end, after the period. It just makes it visually distinct and easier to read.
And finally, the finishing touches that make your paper look polished and professional. It's really just 3 things to remember. 1-inch margins all the way around, double space everything, and put a little header up in the top right with your last name and the page number. That's it. Easy.
So if you take away just one single thing from our time together, please let it be this. MLA is not 1,000 rigid, scary rules. It is one flexible, logical system. It's a tool designed to help you, not punish you.
We started this whole conversation with that feeling of dread, right? But now you have the key. You have the one universal template that unlocks everything. You're not just a student following rules anymore. You're a researcher, an author, ready to build your own arguments. So the only question left is, now that you've got this superpower, what are you going to build with it?